Let's invite in your leadership, and that means let's check in, by the way, we have Steve Scalise, Congressman, welcome out, Elise Stefanik, Congressman Emmer. And I want to ask all three of you, in light of what we've been talking about and in light of what Director Ray said, and I think it's really, really important that we go to what also was said by Secretary Mayorkas yesterday. He was asked a very simple question. This question was asked by Senator Johnson of Wisconsin about how many people have come into this country illegally. Watch this tape.
Y'all's mics are in your chair.
Let me say,
I need numbers. Again, don't filibuster me. How many people has this administration let into the country?
let me say at the outset that our job would be a lot easier if the broken immigration system was
No,
fixed.
Mr. Secretary, I want a number. How many people have you let into this country?
I should also
okay,
comment.
I'll give you the number. It's about 6 million. About 1.7 million as known gotaways. Now, again, we don't know who these people are. We just know that they've come to this country and they're residing somewhere.
Are we asking too much? You're the Secretary of Homeland Security. The director of the FBI is saying we have terror threats that are increasing, and they don't know how many people they've allowed into the country. Can you explain that?
Sean, this is alarming. And in fact, if you go under President Obama, Jay Johnson, when he was Homeland Security Secretary, said 1,000 people coming across was too many. We've got millions that have come across. They can't tell you how many are on the terrorist watch list. Some of the countries you talked about, places from foreign adversaries, at a time, as you see, when terror is getting on the rise. This is a major concern. That's why we passed H.R. 2, the strongest border security package. This group here came together, passed a strong border security package to fix this problem. Joe Biden doesn't want to talk about it, but look, this isn't a Republican or Democrat issue. Democrat mayors around the country recognize this is a major problem. They're calling on President Biden to fix this as well. I think the country has come a long way to recognizing this is one of the top issues, major threat to our national security. Joe Biden's the only one MIA on this.
Congresswoman, let me give you the numbers that I think should startle everybody. I'd like to know why we have 659 Iranians at our southern border. I'd like to know why we have 538 Syrians. I'd like to know why we have tens of thousands of people from China and Russia, and also from the Middle East, thousands of what we call special interest illegal immigrants wanting to get in. And could you possibly explain the policy that allows Chinese nationals to buy up thousands and thousands of acres of farmland, ranch land, and land near military installations?
Well, first of all, it's because of Joe Biden's failed border policies. And every district, every state, every community has become a border district. I represent a district in New York, and we see, as the majority leader just said, cities like New York City, Democrat elected officials who are speaking out against Joe Biden's failed border policies. And it's not only a national security crisis.
But it took them a long time. They were first very welcoming.
They were very welcoming, and now the shoe is on the other foot because they see the impact. And that's why Republicans are on offense in places that were traditionally blue. But you also asked about not only the national security crisis, but I believe it's a humanitarian crisis as well. The 87,000 minors, those under the age of 18 that have been lost due to human trafficking under Joe Biden's failed policies. We as Republicans will stand up for border security, and I believe that will be one of the winning issues moving into 2024 under Speaker Johnson's leadership and under this united conference.
Let me ask you, Congressman Emmers, I think this is really, really important. I want to play an exchange. And this was, again, Secretary Mayorkas with Josh Hawley of Missouri, and get your reaction to this exchange.
This is a paraglider, a Hamas paraglider, depicted here with a machine gun flying into Israel. She posted it under her online alias with the celebratory Free Palestine. Mr. Secretary, what's going on here? Is this typical of people who work at DHS? This is an asylum and immigration officer who is posting these, frankly, pro-genocidal slogans and images on the day that Israelis are being slaughtered in their beds. What have you done about this?
4 things I'd like to say to you. Number one, your question to suggest that that is emblematic of the men and women of the Department of Homeland Security is despicable.
I'm sorry, what have you done? This person works for the Department of Homeland Security. Have you fired her?
That was one of 4 answers.
Have you fired her?
One.
Have you fired her? Don't come to this hearing room when Israel has been invaded and Jewish students are barricaded in libraries in this country and cannot be escorted out because they are threatened for their lives. You have employees who are celebrating genocide, and you are saying it's despicable for me to ask the question?
Celebrating genocide, and the person's not fired. And I guess this goes to the theme of the night. Is every Republican in the House, you have power here. You have the power of the purse. You also would have the power to impeach Secretary Mayorkas. What do you think the best way forward would be for the Republican conference?
Well, first off, I think this team had a lot of success in the first 10 months. We now have a new speaker, a great leader, the right man at the right time that this whole group has unified behind. We can do some big things yet, Sean. And on this issue, it's about holding the Biden administration accountable. It's about the ongoing investigations that Jamie Comer and Jim Jordan and their committees are doing. It's about the weaponization of government against your political opponents. Republicans are doing all that investigation at the same time. You hit on the biggest thing that our speaker is interested in taking back, which is the power of the purse. The House hasn't had it for years. We start doing the appropriations process that he has set us down the road on, and we finish it. Guess what? We can take back that power of the purse, and we can start to hold this renegade, out-of-control executive branch accountable.
Mr. Speaker, how do you force a president that is picking and choosing what laws he will enforce and laws he will not enforce? The laws on immigration in this country are clear. They are unambiguous. We have a constitutional process. We have 3 branches of government. He does not get to dictate this, but he's been allowed to. He has enabled, aided and abetted 8 million people to enter our country illegally. You know, we have watched now, you know, people from hostile regimes, our geopolitical foes, walking into this country, no vetting allowed. I mean, is this not a clear and present danger to America?
Of course it is. And as we go forward...
And what can we do?
Well, with our appropriations bills for Ukraine funding, for example, we're going to marry that with border security. Those 2 things are going to be handled together because we believe it's a top priority. We can't be expected to take care of other countries and other conflicts if we can't seal our own border. But the other responsibility we have is the power of the purse, but also accountability. And that's why our investigations go forward. We're holding these federal agencies accountable. They have been weaponized. They're being used against the very people they're designed to protect and serve. And we have to seek and push and force accountability in that way. And our committees have been very, very busy at that. All the committees of jurisdiction, and they'll continue that.
I want to get a reaction from everybody in the room on the cognitive state of Joe Biden. The first tape I'm going to play, you're all laughing. The first tape I'm going to play was put together by the RNC. The second tape was Joe Biden recently flying back from Israel, and he had a gaggle on Air Force One. I'll play them back to back, and then I'll have a question on the other side. Let's roll the tape.
But the nature, not when the political coverage, look, some of the political players and some of the, let me ask a rhetorical question. No, I won't. Anyway.
Can you talk about the impact of meeting the survivors and the first responders?
That's all personal. Look, I spent an hour and a half about 17 or 18 before. And I don't know how to say this. Virtually every mass shooting, every circumstance where a large number of people have been victimized and lost, I've spoken with our Defense Department. It says it's highly unlikely that Israelis would have a different footprint, and they've intercepted some anyway. And so that's why, if you notice, I didn't say it first. I wanted to make sure that I knew. And look, and I'm not suggesting that Hamas deliberately did it either. It's that old thing, gotta know how to shoot straight. And it's not the first time Hamas has launched something that didn't function.
I'll start. You're in leadership. I'll ask you is Joe Biden cognitively, mentally strong enough to be our president, Mr. Speaker?
I think every American feels the same way we do. You heard gasps in the room. It's painful for us to watch. I think it's very dangerous. I think everybody can draw their own conclusion from that. This is a dangerous time on the world stage. We have to project strength. And projecting weakness invites the wolves. And so we know that, and that's why it's so difficult for us to watch that.
Congressman Emers.
I'm going to try to be kind, Sean, but like every professional athlete, and we have some that are in the room, sometimes they stick around.
Burgess Owens, he's a pretty good player.
Burgess Owens, there's one of them. But sometimes, Sean, they stick around a little too long. They stick around after they've lost a little speed, lost a little too long.
That was gracious.
Yeah.
Congresswoman?
Joe Biden is unfit to be president of the United States. And I think whether you're Republican, Democrat, or independent, the American people understand that.
Does it not put emphasis on why all of you uniting in leadership is even more important?
Absolutely.
Yes. It does.
Sean, Xi's watching this. The Ayatollah's watching this in Iran. Putin's watching this. Is it any surprise they're all moving against our allies right now? They see this weakness.
These are scary times. We're going to talk about Iran. We're going to talk about the Middle East. We've got a lot more to get to. By the way, thank all of you. Just last exit question. Is there anybody in the room, raise your hand high, if you think Joe Biden is cognitively strong enough to be our president? Is there anybody?
Wrong room.
Okay, just checking. When we come back, House Republicans are moving forward with critical investigations into Joe Biden, along with other probes into government corruption. We'll check in.